Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending my PetchaKutcha, Environmental Injustice, the Flint Water Crisis. My name is Elizabeth Daniel, and I would like to spend just a moment to thank Dr. Roulier for his help with this presentation, but also the initial assignment in my urban spaces class. Flint, Michigan is a suburb of Detroit whose heyday was back in the first part of the 20th century during a General Motors boom. Today, it is a town of 95,000 people, 53% identifying as African American, with a median income of $27,000. This town was impacted by white flight and now is a crumbling infrastructure. In 2011, an emergency manager was appointed from the state to assist Flint with their $25 million in deficits. To save money, the emergency manager decided to switch off the Detroit water system of Lake Huron to the Flint River. This was against a city council vote of 7-1. Flint was being supplied with water from the Flint River by April 2014. This water was being brought into homes by aged leaded pipes and poor infrastructure. Due to the corrosive nature of the water being supplied, General Motors switched off the city water system back onto the township system of Lake Huron by October 2014 for auto part manufacturing. In June 2014 to October 2015, Flint had the third largest outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in U.S. history, causing 12 deaths. Legionnaire's disease is a rare form of pneumonia that is known to be carried by contaminated water. The people of Flint were scared, and they felt voiceless in their own homes. Thankfully, a scientist at Virginia Tech heard about Flint, and in August and September 2015, 277 water testing kits were sent to the homes in Flint. The team at Virginia Tech saw that the water held more than triple the amount of lead permitted by drinking water standards of the EPA. This could no longer go ignored. After testing, Judge David Lawson ordered the Michigan governor to resupply bottled water and filtration systems until the Flint infrastructure could be replaced. The seesaw water distribution occurred April of 2018, despite the fact that only a third of the city's affected service lines had been replaced. Now, is this an example of environmental injustice? First, let's talk impacts. The 9,000 children in Flint will be dealing with the water crisis for the rest of their lives. The CDC wrote that leaded water in children will cause damage to brain and nervous systems, slowed growth and development, learning and behavior problems, and hearing and speech problems, which all result in a lowered IQ and difficulty in school. Now, let's go to government. In 2014, all government buildings in Flint were supplied with bottled water. This is before any outside testing was done. An email from an official inside the water treatment plant warned against switching the water to the river. Yet, the day of the switch, the district supervisor from MDEQ's water office said individuals shouldn't notice any difference. I'm going to go one step further. This was not just a case of environmental injustice. It is not just a random tragedy. This was a case of environmental racism. It was a case of unintentional discrimination, which is not consciously or deliberately sought, but is the result of unconscious factors such as stereotypes or processes that have unintended outcomes. Before we continue, I would like to point out that environmental racism has many different facets. Above all, to continue, it must be understood that the lack of action against environmental injustice, because people think the community will not act or will not be heard, is itself an idea of racism. The Flint River had been a known waste dumping ground for decades, and without proper filtration system, it brought great danger into people's lives. Some of the contaminants found in the river are chemicals found in stain remover and electrical equipment. The Michigan office has to limit how much fish you can eat from the Flint River per year to stay healthy. There were complaints about the water concerning color and taste. There were warnings from officials. There were people getting sick and people dying. There was no response from the government until after the Virginia Tech findings about lead water. And the Flint community itself became national news. The people of Flint had to get national media attention to get anyone to listen to them. They are a poor town populated by a minority. There were various protests, social media campaigns, and even letters to the president from children. One of these is known as Little Miss Flint, who is still active today. It was the people of Flint that fought for their own health, not their elected officials. To this day, many people in Flint still don't drink tap water. There is now a deep distrust in the government to listen to their issues and concerns and act on them. And there is a resounding denial in the government that anything was done wrong. There have been no legal triumphs for Flint as of yet. June 14, 2017, the district attorney charged many officials with involuntary manslaughter in connection with the Legionnaires' outbreak that killed 12 people during the Flint water crisis. The case was soon dropped. In 2020, January, the Supreme Court ruled the people of Flint could sue against officials. This is not just a Flint issue. A St. Louis study found that Black children in the city were 2.4 times more likely than white children to test positive for lead in their blood and account for more than 70% of children suffering from lead poisoning. I also point you to Pittsburgh, Newark, who both come under criticism for water quality in minority communities. Last, we must ask ourselves, would this have happened in our neighborhoods? Why? Why not? Would this violation have happened and progressed to such a level in a primarily white community? Would you have stood up for it? It is here that I will present to you all the revised title of my presentation, Environmental Racism, the Story of Flint, Michigan Water Crisis. Flint asked for help with her $25 million in deficit, and they got a water crisis instead. $25 million does not equal 12 people's lives. The Flint water crisis was an act of unintentional discrimination that created an environmental crisis for the people of Flint, one that they will feel the effects of for the rest of their lives. This is not only an issue of socioeconomics or geographic location, but it is an issue in a much deeper systematic level. Thank you very much.